They paid for her Ivy League tuition. But when I asked for help, my mom literally laughed and said, "You're not worth investing in, Casey." On graduation day, they were grinning like proud parents. Until the dean stepped up to the microphone. What followed made their faces go sheet white, and the entire stadium fall silent. My name's Casey Drayton. I'm 24, and for most of my life, I've been the invisible daughter in my own damn family. Growing up in Charleston, South Carolina, our family looked perfectly normal from the outside. White picket fence, golden retriever. Dad was a commercial real estate agent. Mom ran an upscale wedding planning business. We were upper middle class, country club types. But the truth? The truth was, I was never the daughter they wanted. That title belonged to my younger sister, Whitney. Blonde, petite, big blue eyes, and bigger opinions. From the day she was born, she was the star of every family gathering. My mom used to call her my little debutante. Me? I was the bookworm, said with the same tone you'd use for a rash. Whitney got dance classes, a car at 16, a modeling portfolio, and front row tickets to Taylor Swift. I got clearance jeans, a secondhand trumpet, and Mom's old Nokia when she upgraded. And every time I asked why, I got the same rehearsed answer. Casey, you're the independent one. Independent. Right. That's what they called it when they gave Whitney a brand new MacBook for high school and told me to borrow the library's computers. By the time we both hit senior year, yes, she skipped a grade. We were applying to colleges at the same time. I applied to 14, spent months on essays, worked 2 jobs, and begged my way into interviews. I got accepted into 4 top-tier business programs, including the elite Rothmore University in Boston. I came home the day my acceptance letter arrived, heart pounding. I walked into the kitchen holding the envelope like it was made of gold. I got in, I said breathlessly. Dad looked up from his iPad. Oh? Whitney came in 20 minutes later waving her own envelope like a victory flag. She screamed. Mom screamed. They danced. There was champagne. Dad booked her a spa day. I was still sitting at the table, untouched letter in hand. 2 days later, they took Whitney out to celebrate her future. I was left at home with a Postmates code and a note that read, "Leftovers in the fridge." Congrats. I should have seen it coming. But I did in single quotes T. 1 week later. Dad called a family dinner. We never had family dinners unless something serious was happening. They sat us down with grilled salmon and roes like it was some twisted intervention. "Whitney," Dad said with a smile, "we're fully covering your tuition at Rothmore. Housing, meals, everything. You won't have to lift a finger." I turned slowly toward them. Waited. Nothing. I cleared my throat. "And what about me?" They exchanged glances. Mom put on her gentle voice, the one she used when firing her assistants. "Sweetie," she said, "we can't afford 2 Rothmores." "But I got in," I said. "You'll figure something." "Out," Dad added. "Community college first. Then transfer, maybe." Then he looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Whitney's future has more long-term potential." I couldn't breathe. They didn't even pretend to feel bad. Plus, Mom added with a sip of wine, "You've always been more of a do-it-yourself girl." That night I cried until my throat felt like it was bleeding. Not because they chose her, but because I had truly believed, even after years of being second best, that maybe, just maybe, they'd see me. The next day, I drove 3 hours to see the only person who had ever believed in me, my uncle. Ray. Ray was my dad's younger brother, a total black sheep. He lived out in the countryside and ran a small logistics consulting firm from a converted barn. He drank too much bourbon, called everyone kid, and had the heart of a lion. When I told him what happened, he didn't say a word, just poured me a glass of scotch and slid his laptop toward me. "All right, kid," he said, "let's figure out how you're going to outshine those bastards." That was the moment everything changed. Ray didn't coddle me. Instead, he handed me a thick binder labeled College Hustle Plan, complete with color-coded tabs, budgeting spreadsheets, scholarship links, and a highlighted sticky note that read, "No one's coming. Be your damn cavalry." That night, I applied for every grant, work-study gig, and bursary I could find. I took a crash course in financial aid forms, FAFSA, mastered, Pell Grants, done. I slept 3 hours a night, juggled 2 jobs, and cold emailed every department chair at Rothmore begging for help. Some answered. Most didn't, but I kept going. I got partial funding through a startup women in tech initiative. Snagged a need-based scholarship from a foundation for marginalized youth. Apparently, being emotionally neglected qualifies. I moved to Boston. 2 weeks before classes started, my parents didn't help me pack. Whitney had movers, a goodbye brunch, and a $2,000 dorm decor budget. I had Ray's old pickup truck, 3 duffel bags, and a chip microwave he pulled from storage. You need anything, Ray said. You call me, but only after you've tried twice on your own. My apartment was a 6th-floor walk-up with mold in the shower and roaches bold enough to wave hello. My roommates were a burnout jazz major, a conspiracy podcaster, and a girl who vaped essential oils and thought Elon Musk was her soulmate, but it was mine. Every morning, I woke up at 5 a.m., worked a shift at a 24-hour diner, went to class, napped in the library between lectures, worked nights at a doggy daycare. On weekends, I did freelance graphic design and temp gigs through Ray's logistics contacts. And somehow, I didn't just survive. I started to thrive. By midterms, I had straight A's. My professors noticed. One of them, Dr. Talia Monroe, a stone-cold legend in Rothmore's business department, called me into her office. Your strategic analysis paper, she said, reads like a McKinsey consultant. I blinked. She leaned forward. Casey, where did you learn this? I work in inventory tracking for my uncle's freight company, I said. She smiled. I want you on the Student Startup Accelerator team. We'll pay you to learn. For the first time, my knowledge wasn't just helping me pass. It was worth something. Meanwhile, Whitney was thriving in a very different way. Social media showed her fraternity mixers, ski trips, internships she didn't earn. When I asked how classes were going, she said, "Oh my God, we had a group presentation, and my team was like totally obsessed with my slides." She didn't even know how to attach a PDF without help. Still, our parents called her every Sunday, sent her care packages, paid for a spring break trip to CABO.me. I didn't even get a text on my birthday. One cold February morning, I passed out at work. Dehydration, exhaustion. I hit my head on the stainless steel prep counter. Got 8 stitches. No one came to the hospital except Zoe, my jazz major roommate, who'd found me collapsed in the kitchen. When I called Mom to tell her, she sighed. "Oh, honey, you've always been so dramatic." That night, I blocked both my parents' numbers. I felt lighter. Over the next 2 years, I rose fast. Dr. Monroe became my mentor. I co-founded a business consultancy project for small, struggling retailers. Our data model cut waste by 18% on average. The school wrote about us. I got invited to pitch at an innovation conference in New York. Meanwhile, I quietly built a network of donors, clients, and faculty allies. By senior year, I was managing 6 student interns, running a 5-figure operation, and graduating with a 4.0 GPA. Still without a single dime or word from my parents. But the real twist? Graduation day, Rothmore's business school had a tradition. One graduating senior gives the closing speech. It's a huge honor. My name was secretly chosen by the faculty 2 months before the ceremony. They kept it quiet. Dean Harper, the stern, no-nonsense administrator who made grown professors cry, called me into her office. "You've been selected," she said, "but we're going one step further." I frowned. "How?" She smiled thinly. "You'll see. Just prepare to own your truth fully." I nodded. That night, I wrote my speech like it was a battle cry. I didn't name names, but I poured every ounce of betrayal, rage, and fire into those 5 minutes. I didn't know yet that the entire school board, 10,000 attendees, and every local business leader in the city would be listening, or that my parents would fly in front row, invited by Whitney, completely unaware of what was coming. Graduation morning, I woke before dawn, heart pounding, hands shaking. I couldn't eat, couldn't think straight. Just stared at the mirror and reminded myself this was the final act. 4 years of pain were about to become power. Zoe helped me with my cap and gown. "They're not ready for this," she said, smirking. Neither was I. I slipped on the custom stole Dr. Monroe had given me embroidered with the word resilient. It glowed under the soft light of our kitchen. At the stadium, the crowd buzzed with excitement. The kind of buzz that comes before an earthquake. 10,000 folding chairs, balloons, a brass quartet, and families dressed in designer outfits. Dripping with pride. Whitney was in line ahead of me. Hair curled, lashes done. She looked like she was going to the Emmys. She turned and smiled. "Can you believe it? We actually made it." "Some of us the hard way," I muttered. She didn't. Here, I spotted our parents sitting in the front row. VIP section. Dad in a blazer. Mom with her signature pearl earrings. Laughing. Waving. Beaming at Whitney like the freaking sun rose for her. They didn't even notice me behind. Typical. The ceremony began. Speeches, award presentations, applause. More applause. Then. Dean Harper took the mic. Her voice cut through the stadium like a sword. This year, we honor not only excellence, but endurance, grit, and unshakable spirit. Please welcome our class of 2025 student speaker, Casey Drayton. The audience froze. I saw it happen in real time. My parents' faces shifted from polite interest to confusion to horror. Whitney turned, eyes wide. I stepped forward, walked across the stage, shoulders square, chin high. Each step louder than thunder in my chest. The applause started low, scattered, then built. By the time I reached the podium, half the stadium was standing. I inhaled. I arrived at Rothmore with no support, no money, and no belief from the people who were supposed to love me most. Silence. I worked 3 jobs, slept 4 hours a night, took classes by day, cleaned kennels by night. I didn't have parents who funded my future. I had to fund it myself. Gasps. I didn't flinch. Some of us are born with open doors. Others have to break them down. And I broke mine down with bloody hands. People were crying. I built a business while earning a 4.0 GPA. I helped small companies stay alive during a recession. And today, I walk this stage not just as a graduate, but as a woman who made her own damn legacy. Thunderous applause. And to those who look past. Me? Who said I wasn't worth investing in? I hope you're watching now. Mic drop. I stepped back as the stadium roared. Dean Harper returned to the mic, barely containing her grin. And one more thing, she said, holding up a gold envelope. This year's Chancellor's Medal for Entrepreneurial Achievement goes to Casey Drayton, founder of Market Consulting, recently acquired by Dorset and Levin for $2.2 million. The crowd exploded. I stared, stunned. Whitney dropped her program. My mom's hand flew to her mouth. Dad looked like he'd swallowed a knife. That wasn't even the final blow. Dean Harper continued, and effective immediately, a new scholarship funded by Ms. Drayton's company will support first-gen students pursuing business degrees. Ladies and gentlemen, the Casey Drayton Resilience Grant. Boom, mic, crashed, to earth. I had just written myself into Rothmore's history books. And my parents? They looked like they wanted the earth to open and swallow them whole. After the ceremony, the stadium erupted into a swarm of hugging grads, camera flashes, and flying caps. I didn't look for my parents. I walked straight to Dr. Monroe, who pulled me into a hug so tight I nearly lost it right there. You did it, she whispered, and you did it with fire. Then came Zoe, then my intern team, then the dean, then 3 people I'd never met who said my speech made them cry. But eventually, I saw them. My parents, hovering at the edge of the crowd like ghosts in designer sunglasses. They were smiling. That strained, panicked smile people. Where when they're trying not to fall apart. Dad stepped forward first. Casey, that was wow. Impressive speech. Really powerful, Mom added, voice brittle. Everyone's been talking about it. Sure, I said coolly. I imagine it's hard to ignore when your daughter exposes your favoritism in front of 10,000 people. Mom BLANCHED. Whitney appeared behind him, awkward and silent. She looked different, smaller somehow. She couldn't meet my eyes. Dad cleared his throat. Look, we didn't know you were doing all that. You should have told us. I did, I snapped. Many times. You just didn't listen. They exchanged a look. The we're losing control of the narrative look. Mom tried again. Well, we're proud of you. We always were. I laughed in her face. It came out sharp. Almost cruel. No, you weren't. You were proud of Whitney. I was the fallback girl. The one who didn't fit the mold. You made that painfully clear when you told me she was worth the investment. And I wasn't. Now people were watching. Relatives, classmates, professors. The same people who just clapped for my triumph were now seeing the ugly truth in 4K. Dad's jaw clenched. This isn't the time for a scene. I smiled. Oh, I think it's the perfect time. Then I turned to Whitney. She looked up at me. Her mascara was smudged. I didn't know, she said quietly. Not really. Not until this year. You helped me. And I never helped you. I nodded. I don't hate you, Whit, but we're not kids anymore. You don't get a pass just because you were clueless. She bit her lip. I want to be better. I really do. I hope so, I said, because now everyone's watching. We left them there, standing in a sea of celebration. While the whispers started, those are her parents? They didn't pay a dime for her? She built a company alone. And they still favored the other one. Their shame was finally public. They had spent years crafting a polished family image, perfect daughters, perfect lives. And I had smashed it in 5 minutes with the truth. Later that night, I threw a party, not just for me. For everyone who'd hustled through college without handouts. Ray flew in from Charleston. Dr. Monroe came. Zoe DJ'd on a Bluetooth speaker with dollar store lights. There was cheap wine, takeout pizza, and a room full of warriors. And for the first time, I felt it. To win, not just academic, not just financial. But moral. Spiritual. Cosmic. I didn't just survive my parents' neglect. I thrived because of it. Now, for the first time in my life, I wasn't chasing their approval. I was standing so far above it that I couldn't even see it in the rearview mirror. They had bet on Whitney, but I had become the one no one could ignore. 2 days after graduation, Whitney showed up at my apartment. No makeup, sweatshirt, red eyes. I left the rental house, she said. I can't stand being around them. She was holding a duffel bag and a bottle of cheap rose. Can I crash for a few nights? I let her in. We sat on the floor with mismatched mugs and drank straight from the bottle like it was some kind of communion. You killed it, she said. Like, absolutely annihilated the entire ceremony. Thanks, I said. She looked away. They're freaking out. I know. Dad tried to make it sound like he always knew you'd be successful. Said you were always an independent spirit. I barked a laugh. Right, the same independent spirit they didn't think deserved a tuition check. She nodded slowly. Casey, she said, voice soft. I know saying sorry doesn't fix it, but I'm sorry. I should have noticed sooner. I should have spoken up. I didn't respond right away because I could tell for once she meant it. They made me think you were fine, she continued. Always said, don't worry about Casey. She's tough. She'll figure it out. But that wasn't strength. That was neglect. I looked at her. And for the first time in years, I didn't see the golden child. I saw a girl who'd been used to a pawn in their game of favoritism. They made us compete, I said, when we should have been on the same side. I'm done competing, she said, and I'm done letting them control how I see my own sister. That night changed something. We talked until sunrise. About everything. She told me Dad had once said, if we invest in Casey and she fails, that's wasted money. If she succeeds, she'll never thank us anyway. My stomach turned, but it wasn't surprising. Whitney moved in for 2 weeks. Helped me box up my life. We cooked, laughed, cried, rebuilt our sisterhood like a collapsed bridge, one plank at a time. Then came the job offer. Not for me. For her, a fancy policy fellowship in D.C. backed by one of Mom's wedding clients. All expenses paid, 6-figure track. One condition. She had to cut ties with drama. AKA me. She showed me the email. I won't take it, she said. I blinked. Why not? Because success isn't worth it if I have to betray the only person who ever told me the truth. I stared at her. That's a hard choice, I said. Not really, she replied. I'd rather succeed on my own than ride another handout from people who lie for a living. She applied for a nonprofit fellowship instead. Lower pay. Harder. Hours. But hers. That night, Mom texted me, can we talk? We're trying to make things right. I ignored it. The next week, Ray hosted a family dinner at his place. He invited everyone, including my parents. They showed up, dressed too formally. Carrying a bottle of wine they clearly hoped would smooth everything over. Ray met them at the door. Don't try anything fake, he warned. She earned her peace. Don't take it from her again. We ate on the patio under string lights. Steak, cornbread, peach cobbler. Southern comfort food served with cold silence until Dad finally spoke. You've done well, he said. We didn't see it. That was our mistake. I nodded. Yes, it was. Mom tried. We want to rebuild. Be part of your life again. If you'll let us. I took a sip of sweet tea. Looked at Whitney. Then looked back at them. I'm not angry anymore, I said. But I'm not going to pretend it didn't happen. They looked uncomfortable. We'll do whatever it takes, Dad said. Good, I replied. Because next week, I'm being interviewed for Forbes' Under 25 Visionaries list. I'm going to talk about the cost of being overlooked. The cost of being the child who wasn't chosen. They froze. I won't name names, I added. But I won't lie either. The Forbes interview dropped 2 weeks later. Front page. Big black letters. From Forgotten to Fearless. How Casey Drayton built an empire alone. The story pulled no punches. They quoted my graduation speech. Detailed my business acquisition. Even mentioned how I funded a scholarship to support students abandoned by their own families. Mom sent 3 texts. No apology. Just confusion. Why did you say those things? We always tried our best. It wasn't that bad. I didn't reply, but they got the message. Because soon, I wasn't just the girl who made it. I was the woman who rewrote the damn rules. Rothmore invited me back to speak at orientation. High schools asked me to mentor their students. My story became a case study in the business ethics course I once took. Ray cried when he read that. I always knew, he whispered. They didn't see you, kid, but the world does now. Meanwhile, Whitney started her nonprofit fellowship. She launched a tutoring program for first-gen teens. Refused any help from mom and dad. She told me I owe them nothing. But I owe the truth everything. Our bond grew, stronger than it had ever been. Sisters finally freed the weight. A few months later, I flew home for a surprise. Not for my parents, for Ray. I bought him a brand new pickup. Same model as the Rust Bucket. That once hauled me to Boston. He stood in the driveway, jaw hanging open. You serious? He whispered. You're the reason I made it, I said. You handed me the map when no one else would. He cried again. Then he grilled 3 racks of ribs and made me retell the Forbes story to every neighbor on the street, even his ex-wife. Came by to hear it. That fall, something wild happened. The university renamed my scholarship. It became the Drayton Resilience Fellowship. Dean Harper called personally to ask if I'd attend the ceremony. I did, this time wearing a tailored navy suit and heels that screamed boardroom CEO. As I walked onto the stage, I saw them again. My parents, sitting in the back row. Uninvited. Watching from a distance. I dedicated a $500,000 endowment to students who had been overlooked, underfunded, and told they'd never make it. I didn't mention them. I didn't need to, because every word I spoke was proof of what they refused to believe. I was worth it. I had always been worth it. After the ceremony, as the crowd thinned, they approached. Quiet, hesitant, like strangers. Dad looked older. Smaller. Mom looked broken. I see you now, she said. I don't need you to, I replied. But I said it without anger. Just truth. They had missed the chance to be part of my rise. Now they were just witnesses, and that was the real revenge. Not the speech, not the scholarship, not even the Forbes cover. The real revenge was becoming the version of me they never imagined. The one who didn't need their permission. The one who didn't crave their love. The one who took abandonment and turned it into fuel. That night, Whitney and I walked the campus together. Old paths. New purpose. She stopped at the bronze plaque bearing the name, Drayton Resilience Fellowship, and touched it lightly. You rewrote the story, she said. I looked at her. No, I said. I burned the old one and built something better in its ashes. Then we walked away. Into the night, into the future, into the life they said I'd never have. Built on the silence they gave me, and I've never looked back. That's the end of today's story. Did things turn out the way you thought, or were there some surprises along the way? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you haven't joined the community yet, now's the perfect time. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you're always the first to catch new stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next adventure.